Welcome back to What You Miss Gaming, the video game news show that knows it's dangerous to go alone and uninformed on the internet. So here, take this video game news with you, and stay informed, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got a ton of really disturbingly bad stories today, and some decent ones, so why don't you sign in and get ready to share this, because I know a lot of people are going to want to know this information. Let's begin with the fact that apparently a games journalist doesn't know how to play video games. Now this has happened in the past. We've had articles from games journalists who have been invited to events and were bored out of their minds and hated doing what they were doing. Now I know a lot of you can't imagine this, because if you were given the job and the position of playing video games for money, you yourself probably would be the happiest person in the world. And I myself love my job, and I love every single one of you. Thank you for giving me this job. I didn't take this job because it was the first job I could get. We have an individual who was playing Cuphead, and this was tweeted out by an individual named Coney. You can see the little tweet in the video here, but it's very painfully clear that this person, whoever it is playing, can't play the game. Now, I'm not here to bully or harass, and I don't want you to send this person harassing tweets or figure out who they are and just harass them. But it's ridiculous to see games journalists doing stuff like this, recording stuff like this. What is this? DSP gaming? I couldn't help myself. Now, this isn't a guy who's playing this game professionally bad on purpose for views. It seems that he genuinely didn't know what he was doing, he or she. So, there you go. That's why shows like mine exist. What You Miss Gaming, the gaming news show that recaps what you missed this week, it exists because games journalists like this in this Twitter video exist. That's why. So let's move on. Reggie Fisime is focusing on Switch supply for the holidays and is open to TV or movie partnerships and has faith in augmented reality. Yes, if you didn't know, augmented reality is the next biggest thing. You remember how VR was? VR is pretty stagnant right now. I know a lot of people have said, yeah, there's some good games out there for it, but I really do think it depends on whether or not these big hitters like Skyrim, Doom, and Fallout actually make the big push for VR and make it good too. You can't have just one or two good games on VR. Take a look at the Virtual Boy, man. It had a couple good games on it, but that's not enough to make a system. I mean, the system was convoluted, yes, but still, if it had enough decent games, I'm sure people would have eventually bought it. But you have to have a lot. You can't just have a few. Hence, take a look at the Wii U. It had quite a few good games, but it just wasn't enough to generate the sales. So the point being is that they're going to be looking into possible TV and movie partnerships in this, because we already knew they were going to be focusing on the Switch supply. And the fact of the matter is, I hope to see a new Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, and Zelda show. Maybe a Star Fox? How about an F-Zero? Hey, how about a Splatoon one too? Now, I don't know how they would make movies out of these, and I'm not cringing and shuddering at the new Super Mario Brothers movie that they made that was really bad. That movie's pretty good by itself if you don't look at it as a Mario Brothers movie, and even if you look at it as a Mario Brothers movie, it's pretty silly and funny to watch, but it wasn't what people were looking for when it was released. Standing alone, it's a decent film, but a lot of people don't want to see that come back. They don't want to see that happen again. And I understand, but we have a lot better technology now. It's almost 30 years later. So if Nintendo were to make a new movie out of Mario Brothers or Metroid or whatever, I'm sure it would be pretty darn good. The Pokemon CEO thought the Switch would fail. Yeah, you can't read over this article. You're gonna have to go over to IGN for the Daily Fix and watch the video. I think that's incredibly funny. A lot of people say that without Pokemon, the Switch Switch is going to fail. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that the Switch will succeed because, generally speaking, in the past, the Nintendo core consoles themselves, not the Game Boys, not the DS lines, the core consoles, when they've had Pokemon on them, the Pokemon games have not outsold the handheld games for whatever reason, you know. And a lot of people have to say that that's due to the fact that it doesn't have a traditional Pokemon experience. But if you look at Pokemon Sun and Moon, that doesn't have a traditional Pokemon experience, and it sold great. Again, it sold on the handheld, but it still sold great. So the point being, I don't think a lot of people are accurate when they say, hey man, without Pokemon, the Nintendo Switch isn't going to succeed. It's doing pretty well, and I'm glad it is. Which leads me into my next article talking about Pokemon. We have Ash Hat Pikachu event coming, and there's a new dubbed Pokemon the Movie I Choose You trailer that has been revealed. I went over and watched the trailer. It's pretty cool. It's more of the same that we've seen before and a little bit of new stuff. And then, yeah, you guys knew that Ash Hat Pikachu was coming. I detailed it before. Here are the dates where the Pikachus will be available. I'm going to put them on screen instead of reading every single one of them out. But the first date is September 9th to the 25th, and that's the original cap for Ash Hat Pikachu. You need to be on top of that stuff because it's only going to last 6 days. It seems each event is timed for about 6 days. I don't know the end hour, and I don't know the beginning hour. Also, the Pokemon Movie I Choose You dubbed screenings November 5th and November 6th will get a Pokemon TCG card featuring Ash's Pikachu with a QR code that unlocks an in-game Ash's Pikachu wearing a different hat than the previous 6 as well. So that's a 7th unique Pikachu hat. When these all come out, can I make a special request to the competitive Pokemon players out there? Can I get a full Ash Hat Pikachu wearing team on the competitive syndicate? Can I make that request? Can one of you guys do that for me? Thanks, I really appreciate it. The Nintendo Switch is getting its first Rockstar games, and that would be LA Noire. Now, this isn't LA Noire 2, this is the original LA Noire because it's launching on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. If you should buy LA Noire on any of these systems, the Switch included, please take into account that there is nothing new coming to it except for a very few select bonuses that have been detailed, and on top of that, it's going to have all the DLC. You can get LA Noire fairly cheap on the PC with all the DLC, so if that's something that you would like to save a lot of money on, because this is obviously going to be an expensive game on the Switch, then that's something you can do. It's nice to see that this is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and remember, you do get a portable version of that game, and you also get support for touch controls, haptic feedback, and the features that the Nintendo Switch has that PCs and the Xbox and PS4 don't. So if that's a selling point to you, then there you go. This is going to be one of my final stories that I'm going to be closing out on. The new South Park game gets harder if you play as a black character. Okay, so I have to be real with you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know whether to take this seriously or not. South Park has been known to joke about everything. Everything's a big joke to South Park, right? That's not a big deal, I understand that. But it's very strange to see this being put into the game. As reported by Eurogamer, the game's character creator will have an effect on gameplay, altering how NPCs respond and affecting how much money the characters will make. Jesus, have mercy, man. Gameplay captured at the preview event shows that creating a South Park character with lighter skin is classified as easy, while dark skin is very difficult. Quote, "Don't worry, this doesn't affect combat, just every other aspect of your whole life." South Park's resident troublemaker, Eric Cartman, tells the player. Whew. The characters respond to the player's gender identification, which includes male, female, and other. After choosing one of these options, players can specify if they're cisgender or transgender. Jesus Christ. Yes, again, this is political commentary, but I mean, I don't particularly want this stuff in my games. I'm not trying to take this too seriously because, again, it's South Park, but let me parody this and present a scenario to you that you might understand a little bit better while taking out the racial tensions. Imagine if you were a handicapped individual playing Super Mario and you wanted represented in the game. For whatever reason, yes, you can make the argument that games aren't for representation of you, the player, but rather it's telling a story. However, just stay with me. So you're handicapped. You're in a wheelchair. You can't walk. Super Mario allows you to jump, man. You've never been able to walk in your life. And this is amazing to you. You love jumping. You love playing levels. You love accomplishing things in the game. And then you get the option to select a character character with a wheelchair. Well, you say to yourself, wow, man, Mario can look handicapped like me? That's awesome. That makes me feel like I'm in the game. So you pick that option. And it does nothing but reskin Mario and allow you to play the game normally. Sounds great, right? But what if instead the game literally crippled you and you were no longer able to jump because you were in a wheelchair? How depressing to be thrown right back into real life. The life you're trying to escape. The life you're trying to get out of for just a few moments to have some peace playing a video game, rescuing a princess, jumping and leaping 10 to 20 feet in the air, eh? It's pretty ridiculous to see things like this come out in video games. In South Park of all things, yes, I understand it's a parody and a political statement and it's political commentary, but I don't want political commentary in my games. I go to games to escape political commentary. Game developers, why do you keep doing this? I'm done. I'm finished with it. I'm sorry. This isn't cool, man. Alright? I'm white. I'm pretty broke myself. I have a tough time in the world, and I had to earn everything with my own hands. I wasn't given anything. I wasn't given a free pass because of my skin color. And when I joined the army, I certainly didn't have an easier time. If anything, there were a lot more different races above me than below me. I'll tell you that. There were Mexicans, there were blacks, there were Puerto Ricans, there were Cubans. These individuals were sergeants, staff sergeants, lieutenants, commanders. It didn't matter. So for me personally, when I see stuff like this, it really drives me up a wall because I don't like racism. I think this isn't right. I don't think it's cool. I don't understand why this stuff needs to be shoved in the faces of people who aren't racist. I'm not racist. Don't shove this into my game. That's all I have to say about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of What You Missed. Please leave me your comments down in the section below. Please do not fight each other. We don't have to have daddy come through and censor our own comments. So let's have a little bit personal control here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. One final note before I sign off completely, I did want to interject that I have an individual who reached out to me. They stream on their PS4. They do it live. They do a lot of things on their PS4. And as we know, as gamers, it's very difficult and pricey to replace consoles. Well, apparently their PS4 fried. This individual's name is Bink Deadpool, and they're nice to me. They're polite to me. They've helped me out. They've had conversations with me and things like that. And I remember in the past, I had a power supply blow on me, a much cheaper thing to replace, and I couldn't get a single person to give me a shout out or help me to replace that. I was stuck for a week straight. So if any of you want to go over and help this individual out, you can check out his Twitter. You can tweet at him. Maybe you have an extra PS4 lying around. Maybe you upgraded the PS4 Pro and you just don't want to sell your PS4 for pennies on the dollar. Maybe you could send him one. Maybe you could send him a donation or just talk to him and make him feel better. I only promise to shout him out because we're not rich as gamers. It's difficult to replace hardware like that. So I wanted to mention this. In this string of horrible stories, there is a silver lining that I care about the community. I care about you. And I know that it's difficult during this time with the hurricanes and the disasters to give any more than you already have. But if you just happen to have an extra PS4 lying around, contact him over on Twitter. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. As always, good gaming, God bless, and once again, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos.